Gaza Health Ministry reports 77 Palestinians killed in Israeli airstrikes over the past 48 hours. Houthi spokesperson claims a missile strike on Israeli target in southern Jaffa. And Russia launches large-scale drone attack on Kharkiv, injuring at least 46. Good afternoon. At least 28 Palestinians were killed in Israeli airstrikes across Gaza since the early hours of today. In Qnews, 19 people were martyred in what has been described as a massacre by Israeli forces. Among the victims were 3 children. Additionally, 10 more bodies were discovered from the rubble in Gaza's Shujaya neighborhood by civil defense teams. The Ministry of Health in Gaza reported that Israeli airstrikes have killed at least 77 Palestinians over the past 48 hours. The strikes also left 275 others injured. The ministry confirmed that the death toll from Israel's ongoing assault on Gaza since October 2023 has now reached 52,495, with 118,366 others wounded. The aerial bombardment continues to devastate the Gaza Strip amid rising casualties. The Palestinian government reported that the death toll from Israel's siege on Gaza has risen to 57 as a result of starvation tactics employed by the occupying forces. Among the victims, a young girl died at Al-Rantisi Hospital in Gaza City due to dehydration and malnutrition. The World Health Organization described the situation in Gaza as catastrophic, with children suffering severe malnutrition, leading to long-term health consequences for the population. A newlywed couple were among the victims of an Israeli airstrike that hit Qnews today. According to the bride's mother, Naima Zorob said her daughter had been married for just 2 days when the attack struck. The strike caused extensive destruction to with Jahed Sahan injured in the blast, describing the damage as severe. As emergency crews searched through the rubble, families gathered to mourn those killed in the latest wave of strikes. The Israeli Security Cabinet, chaired by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, will hold an emergency meeting on Sunday to discuss the potential expansion of military operations in Gaza. Israeli media reports suggest that the army plans to deploy reserve forces to the Lebanese and Syrian borders, as well as the West Bank, while withdrawing regular troops from those areas to reinforce efforts in Gaza. Sirens sounded across Jerusalem and several parts of Israel this morning after the Israeli occupation military reported intercepting a missile launched from Yemen. The military said the projectile was downed successfully and that warning sirens were triggered in multiple areas as a precaution. The launch comes as the United States intensifies its military campaign against Yemen's Houthi group. President Donald Trump ordered the strikes in March, marking the largest U.S. operation in the Middle East since he took office in January. The Houthis say their attacks on Israel and the Red Sea shipping are a show of solidarity with Palestinians amid the ongoing war on Gaza. A spokesperson for Yemen's Houthi military claimed responsibility for a missile strike on an Israeli target in the southern occupied region of Jaffa. The attack was carried out using a Palestine II hypersonic ballistic missile, which the spokesperson stated successfully reached its target despite Israel's interception systems failing to prevent the strike. In his statement, the military spokesperson, Yahya Sarriah, emphasized that the Yemeni armed forces will continue their support for the Palestinian people until the aggression against Gaza ceases and the siege is lifted. And now let's get the latest developments in the Russia-Ukraine conflict. The mayor of the Russian port city of Novorossiysk declared a state of emergency on Saturday following what he described as a Ukrainian drone attack that damaged residential buildings and injured at least 5 people, including 2 children. Footage shared on the mayor's official Telegram account showed Andrei Kravchenko inspecting damaged apartment buildings and issuing directives to local officials. He confirmed that one of the injured, a woman, remains in serious condition in hospital. There has been no immediate response from Ukraine. However, Ukraine's Air Force reported that Russia launched 183 drones and 2 ballistic missiles overnight, targeting Ukrainian territory. Russia launched a large-scale drone attack late in Ukraine's second largest city, Kharkiv, striking multiple apartment blocks, triggering fires, and injuring at least 46 people. Officials said the assault hit 12 locations across 4 central districts of the city, just 30 kilometers from the northeastern border. President Volodymyr Zelensky condemned the strikes, noting that Ukrainian cities face similar attacks several times each week. He reiterated his call for faster international support to strengthen Ukraine's air defenses. Ukraine's parliament will vote on May 8th to ratify a minerals deal signed with the United States earlier this week. Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal clarified in an address to Parliament that 2 documents related to the deal, which cover its implementation, do not require ratification, as they are institutional rather than intergovernmental. The Ukrainian cabinet registered the bill to ratify the minerals deal with the US on Thursday, May 1st, according to the parliamentary database. The deal, signed on April 30th, grants the US preferential access to new investments in the extraction of Ukraine's natural resources and will fund the reconstruction of the country.
З боку США це будуть грошові внески або нова військова допомога, наприклад, системи ПРО. Внесок України – це 50% від ренти з нових, підкреслюю, з нових ліцензій на видобуток нафти.
Meanwhile, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has praised a new U.S.-Ukraine deal on social media, highlighting preferential U.S. access to Ukrainian minerals and funding for Ukraine's reconstruction. In 2 posts, Bessent called the deal a historic economic partnership and praised President Trump for his tireless efforts towards peace. He also emphasized the U.S.'s intent to quickly operationalize the agreement. The deal, signed in Washington after tense negotiations, creates a joint investment fund for Ukraine's reconstruction amid Trump's push for a peace settlement in Russia's ongoing war. It also aims to rebuild Ukraine's ties with Trump and secure continued U.S. support for its defense against Russia.
That will improve Ukraine's investment climate and accelerate Ukraine's economic recovery. The Development Finance Corporation will
Pakistan now, and Pakistan's UN envoy has called for stability following an attack by suspected militants that killed at least 26 tourists at a mountain resort in the Indian subcontinent last week.
India's unilateral and unlawful actions are bound to undermine regional peace and stability with catastrophic implications. Pakistan's National Security Committee has made it categorically clear that any attempt to stop or divert the natural flow of water that rightfully belongs to Pakistan in accordance with the provisions of this treaty and the usurpation of the rights of the lower riparian will be considered as an act of war. Such a move poses an existential threat to the people of Pakistan and will not be tolerated. In fact, if left unchecked by the international community, such actions risk setting in a dangerous precedent that could undermine the legal rights for lower riparian states, potentially triggering new global conflicts over shared water resources.
The Indian Air Force has conducted a training exercise featuring fighter jet landings on an emergency airstrip built along a highway in northern Uttar Pradesh state. Aircraft including the Rafale, the Jaguar, the Mirage 2000, Sukhoi 30, MiG-29 and the C-130J Super Hercules military transport plane participated in the exercise. The 3.5-kilometer long emergency landing facility, located on the under-construction Ganga Expressway, is India's only highway airstrip capable of supporting night landings. India has conducted large-scale naval military drills in the Arabian Sea, coinciding with warnings from Pakistan about the potential for an imminent military attack. A spokesperson for the Indian Navy confirmed that the drills are part of efforts to demonstrate combat readiness and prepare to deter any potential threats. The exercises, which include live ammunition, have prompted civil aviation companies to avoid the designated training areas. Pakistan's advisor to the Prime Minister on Political Affairs, Rana Sanawala Khan, has announced that the country is ready to join India's investigation into the recent Kashmir attack in a bid to uncover the facts and prevent further escalation between the two nations. Khan also highlighted the option of a third-party investigation, stressing that war would be devastating for both countries. Pakistan condemned the attack, which resulted in the deaths of dozens. And we now go to some breaking news and go live to the Gaza skyline, where the reports are coming in of an Israeli airstrike that has just struck the area. You're now looking at live images from Gaza, where you can see there plumes of smoke are billowing into the sky. This is following a fresh Israeli airstrike. The scene there is one of devastation. The air, as you can see, heavy with dust and smoke as emergency teams scramble to respond. The smoke is rising rapidly, blanketing entire neighborhoods, and as you can see, they're making it difficult to see beyond a few blocks. That'll be the situation on the ground. It's a grim visual echo of the chaos on the ground, as according to the Ministry of Health in Gaza, at least 77 Palestinians have been killed in Israeli airstrikes over the past 48 hours alone. 275 have been wounded. The ministry now reports that since the beginning of the assault in October 2023, the death toll has risen to 52,495. More than 118,000 others have been injured. The relentless aerial bombardment continues to take its heavy toll on the Gaza Strip, with no signs of de-escalation. Live pictures from the skyline of Gaza. Now, US and Philippine troops held counter-landing live fire drills in the northern Cagayan province today as part of their annual joint military exercises. The exercise simulated a defense scenario with troops preparing for an attack on the northern coast of the Philippines. More than 14,000 soldiers from the Philippines and the United States are participating in the shoulder-to-shoulder exercises, aimed at enhancing military interoperability and strengthening maritime, territorial and coastal defences. The drills are said to run until May 9th, with additional participation from Australian and Japanese forces. The annual exercises come amid rising tensions between the Philippines and China over disputed resource-rich islands in the South China Sea. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney has announced that he will be in Washington next Tuesday for talks with US President Donald Trump. Carney described the upcoming discussions as difficult but constructive.
Look, I go there with the expectation of constructive, difficult but constructive discussions. That's the spirit of the conversations that the President and I had. You know, you go to these meetings well prepared. Understanding the objectives of your counterpart, and always in the best interest of Canada, and we'll go from there. Thank you.
Canadian Prime Minister there, Mark Carney. South Korea's Conservative People Power Party has nominated former Labour Minister Kim Moon-soo as its candidate for the upcoming presidential election. The vote follows the removal of President Yoon Suk-yeol over an attempted imposition of martial law. 73-year-old Kim is set to face Liberal Democratic Party candidate Lee Jae-myung, who currently holds a commanding lead in opinion polls. He has promised pro-business reforms and pledged to address what he describes as a political crisis triggered by widespread impeachment efforts led by the opposition. Kim has also vowed to push for constitutional reform, aiming to repeal the charter that was last amended in 1987. A 38-year-old woman was killed earlier today when a bomb exploded in her hands in the northern Greek city of Thessaloniki. Police say the woman appeared to be carrying an explosive device, likely intending to plant it at a bank ATM when it detonated prematurely. The blast occurred in a residential neighborhood in central Thessaloniki, outside an apartment building with a bank on the ground floor. Video from the scene showed a gaping hole in the building, shattered windows, and debris strewn across the sidewalk and parked cars. Forensic teams were deployed to examine the site. Authorities confirmed the woman had a criminal record, and both police investigators and an anti-terrorism unit are now leading the probe. Skype will make its final call on Monday as Microsoft retires the 2-decade-old internet calling service that revolutionized global communication. The decision to shut down Skype is part of Microsoft's strategy to prioritize its Teams service, simplifying its communication tools, the company said in February. Founded in 2003, Skype became a household name by disrupting the landline industry with its audio and video calls. At its peak, it had hundreds of millions of users. However, in recent years, the platform has struggled to compete with more user-friendly and reliable services like Zoom and Slack. The decline was partly due to Skype's technology, which struggled to adapt to the smartphone era. As part of the transition, Skype users will be able to move to Teams for free, with automatic migration of chats and contacts. Skype joins other Microsoft ventures such as Internet Explorer and Windows Phone that have been discontinued over time.
I'm all right, thanks. How are you? How's things in Chicago? Hi, Harry, it's Kim.
Sport now, and we start with golf. Bryson DeChambeau heads into the final round of Live Golf's South Korea tournament with a commanding 4-shot lead. The American shot a bogey-free 6 under 66 on Saturday, moving to 13 under overall. Richard Bland trails in second place, while DeChambeau remains the only player yet to drop a shot all week. This marks Live Golf's first event in South Korea and the 10th country to host the tournament. The competition also marks the midway point of the 2025 season, with 6 more regular events and Michigan Team Championship still to come. Olympic gold medalist Masai Russell set a new American record in the 100-meter hurdles at the Grand Slam track meeting in Miami, clocking 12.17 seconds, the second fastest time ever recorded in the event. The 24-year-old edged fellow American Tia Jones, who posted 12.19 seconds earlier in the day for the third fastest time in history. Jamaica's Akara Nugent finished third. The meet, held under ideal wind conditions at the Ancine Sports Complex, saw Russell break the previous U.S. record of 12.20 set by Kenny Harrison in 2016. Nigeria's Toby Amusan still holds the world record of 12.12 set at the 2022 World Championships. The 3-day event in Miami marks the second Grand Slam track meet of its first season. And that's almost all we have time for, but just time to recap the main headlines this afternoon. Gaza Health Ministry reports 77 Palestinians killed in Israeli airstrikes over 48 hours. Houthi spokesperson claims missile strike on Israeli target in southern Jaffa. And Russia launches large-scale drone attack on Kharkiv, injuring at least 46. And that's all for now, but don't forget you can follow Q News on YouTube and Facebook and X and Instagram and TikTok at Q News EGY. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for more updates here on Q News.